Donna had just woken up. Unfortunately, the day had woken up too. There was a brief moment where Donna considered not getting started. Then Donna remembered participation was not optional. Donna immediately began lowering expectations. There was a long yawn, a moment of reflection, and a decision. Donna would be awake. She would not be going above and beyond. For now, that felt like enough. Meet Trevor. Trevor had a plan. It was a good plan for about 3 seconds. After that, Trevor started making adjustments, then a few more adjustments. And eventually, the plan became more of a suggestion. Every new adjustment felt promising. For a moment, it looked like Trevor had figured it out. Then Trevor learned something new. That led directly to another adjustment. That didn't seem to bother him. Trevor wasn't trying to find the best way to do this. He was trying to find any way to do this. At no point did Trevor consider starting over. He was already too far in. Besides, the current plan had been working for almost 4 seconds. Meet Susan. Susan had noticed something. Nancy had not. That wasn't important, because once Susan noticed it, the conversation was over. Susan got to work. Nancy wasn't completely sure what Susan was doing. Nancy mostly just sat there, which Susan interpreted as cooperation. A few minutes later, Susan seemed satisfied. Nancy seemed unchanged, and that was good enough for Susan. She got up, she left, and Nancy never seemed entirely convinced there had been a problem in the first place. Meet Owen. Owen was under the impression everyone was staying here. His mother had other plans. A little later, his siblings stopped by. Owen took that as encouraging news. For a moment, it looked like things were getting back on track. Then his sibling left too. At that point, Owen began reviewing recent events. Apparently, everyone else knew where they were going. Owen had somehow missed that conversation. Meet Carol. None of this was surprising to Carol. The kids had invented a new activity, and somehow they were doing it at full speed. Carol barely looked up, because Carol had already learned something important. Most situations sound a lot more serious than they actually are. If nobody was crying, and nobody was on fire, it probably wasn't an emergency. The kids kept going. Carol kept not caring. To be fair, everyone seemed fine. Meet Ethan. Ethan had no idea what was going on. The adults seemed busy. That was enough information. If something was happening, he wanted in. He had already decided he was involved. Nobody had asked for help. The adults just hadn't been informed yet. That wasn't stopping him, because Ethan wasn't trying to understand the plan. He was trying to be included in it. And as far as he was concerned, those were basically the same thing. The bird feeder had a target audience. Larry was not part of it. That did not stop Larry. At first, Larry had discovered free food. After a while, Larry had become surprisingly comfortable with the arrangement. He kept coming back. Larry appeared to have no concerns about the approval process. At some point, it stopped feeling like a lucky find and started feeling more like a service. The birds seemed to think this was their feeder. Larry appeared to think it was a community resource. By now, Larry wasn't stealing bird food. He was checking on his food and quietly evaluating the quality of the service. Meet Doug. Doug had every intention of acting like an adult today. Then Doug found mud. At first, Doug was just checking it out. Then Doug got a little more involved. Then Doug remembered why children enjoy this so much. At that point, Doug wasn't worried about staying clean. Doug wasn't worried about looking dignified. Because once Doug started having fun, the rest of the day became tomorrow's problem, and judging by the look on his face, Doug seemed perfectly okay with that. Meet Chad. Chad had been thinking about this moment all week. The posture, the routine, the dramatic entrance. None of this was happening by accident. Chad had a presentation. The audience had not agreed to attend. That wasn't stopping Chad, because Chad firmly believed that if he kept going long enough, eventually everyone would understand how impressive he was. The audience remained difficult to read. Chad remained committed to the performance. Meet the guys. The guys had priorities, and lunch was one of them. Nobody was worried about looking graceful. Nobody was worried about looking cool. The mission was simple. Find lunch, and apparently this was the technique. Head down, butt up. Repeat as necessary. The guys never stopped to consider how any of this looked, because once they got focused on something, self-awareness left the building. And lunch wasn't going to find itself.